Hey there. So, the news of this Nord Stream blowing up and sabotage and all the methane leaking into the atmosphere, it's 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 madness, right? Like we are cancer on the planet. We have to be objective about this situation. And the most accurate description of humanity is a virus or a cancer. So a cancer cell, something gets knocked out of its DNA, I guess, its programming, and it forgets, I guess, that it is a part of the system. And it stops acting symbiotically with its host and its surroundings, and it starts acting individualistically, if that's a word. And it starts acting unnaturally. It's no longer operating on its natural programming. And this makes it consume more than it needs because it reproduces at an unnatural rate. And eventually, because of this, it kills the host and then ends up in its own demise. So that is exactly what is happening with the human species. We're all acting individually. We're no longer a part of nature at all. Our natural programming has been knocked out of whack or reprogrammed. And we are doing exactly that. We're taking more resources from the earth than is required for our sustenance, and we are expanding our population at an unnatural rate. And this is killing the host, and it will be our demise, and possibly we will take all life on the planet with us. So we have to just step back and look at this objectively and realize that we are cancer. So what is it that is different? What makes humans different from animals and plants and the rest of nature? Well, obviously, it's the voice in our head. Zzz. Isn't it? Thought, the voice in your head, is what makes us distinct from nature. So it's thought. We have to recognize that it's thought. Thought is that which is driving us insane and driving us to kill all life on the fucking planet. It can't be more obvious. So what would be Satan's or Maya's greatest achievement? What would be the way in which it could enslave us in further delusion. Well, it would be making it so it's no longer even questioned anymore, right? You 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 wouldn't, if you're hiding somewhere, eventually you'll be found, right? Eventually. But if you're hiding in plain sight, but going unrecognized as being the bad guy, the opponent here, then it's winning. That's the brilliant play of Satan, because we like to personify everything. And that's what's occurring. And the problem is that it's fooled you to believe that you are your thoughts, right? You identify with the thoughts in your head. And that's what makes them so hard to let go of, is because the ego believes that it is dying, that the lack of thought is non-existence. With the thought, if you identify yourself as the thoughts and your belief systems, then when those stop or are challenged, like I do, like I challenge all of the thinkers, well, I challenge everyone, but especially everyone that goes through academia that calls himself a scientist or a mathematician or a philosopher, when I point this out to them, it's the same result. It's either ignoring or defending. It's never trying to actually understand what I'm saying and take an objective view of what's going on. It's immediate rejection. Because those scientists and mathematicians and philosophers are all under the same delusion. They're all being reprogrammed. And it doesn't matter how smart you are, usually that actually impairs you from seeing the truth, is your intelligence. Because, oh, you've got important thoughts, right? Your thoughts are more important or more grandiose or leading to some sort of truth, right? No, none of it is. It's thought. And this is why Ramana Maharshi, who was a fully enlightened being that died in 1950, he said that it was about stopping your thoughts. It was just the final teaching, the most elevated, highest level of spiritual teaching is just being thought free. That's it. So then, oh, well, what about society and what about my life? Well, all of that has been set up by thought, hasn't it? So when you say, oh, well, if we all stopped thinking, society would collapse. Well, what the fuck do you think is happening right now? We're again, objective perspective is important to have here, because we are headed to hell. Where do you think these ideas of hell come from? It's because we've done this before, and there's something in our subconscious that is telling us what has happened before. So I called myself a Buddhist for a decade, and we'd sit zazen and exactly the way you're supposed to, and you sat until you were in agony to meditate, but then there was no teaching that said, well, it's not, it's about stilling your thoughts and quieting the voice in your head. That's it. That is the highest spiritual teaching, and the highest spiritual practice is all the time is to kill it, not to just silence it while you're in zazen and then get up and then go try to make the world a better place and just be like everyone else. That's not it. Enlightenment is Mona. It is the stillness of the mind. It's the silence that's always there. So you're always unintermittently self-aware, and the self is what is transcendent of thoughts and sensations. So again, why this is happening is because it's all the game. And this cycle is ending. And when we go extinct, your ego will meet God at a level it hasn't in billions of years, relatively speaking. Because in dreamless sleep, you meet God, but that's on a very relatively shallow level. And then in the death state, you meet God again, because that's another cycle. But it's at a little deeper level. And then we're coming up with the extinction event, where it will just be you. There won't even be human consciousness. And that's probably the greatest, the deepest level at which you will meet God face to face. You'll be just, it'll just be you. And the existential angst that you will experience if you're all caught up in your thoughts and you think you're your thoughts, or the body, or some convoluted combination of the two, when there's nothing there but you. Well, if you still have ego, it's going to freak out and jump into the closest thing that reminds it of its relative life. And this is why the digital realm is being created. And this is why we are completely, hopelessly addicted to the screen, because again, like the theory says, is that it is our attention that makes reality appear. It makes the relative appear as fundamental. So what Maya is doing is this pendulum is swinging back from the yang, which is the physical realm being accepted as fundamental reality, to the yin, which will be the thought realm, which is, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's before the creation of the physical realm, right? That is a state that is pure thought with no physicality. And the transition period between these two massive cycles is the digital realm, right? So there's always a little transitionary period, and humanity is going through that transitional period. So as hard as it is to accept, because no one has ever told you this, no one has ever told me this through all my Christian teaching and all the Buddhism stuff that I went through for a decade, no one ever said, it's just about your thoughts. You just have to stop your thoughts. That's it. And it doesn't fucking matter if your world collapses, because your world has all been designed by thought to get you to keep going in samsara because that's the game. It's so obvious to me, and I just could see it so clearly, and no one fucking listens. No one fucking listens. It's this simple. It's this simple in theory and this difficult in practice. Because everyone, even the spiritual people, most of them, the teachers, whether they're Buddhist or non-dual, most of them don't want to go here. It's too much. Now, if I could bottle that and sell it online and send it through Amazon to you, you would say, yeah, that's pretty cool. I had forgotten what actual happiness felt like. So, when you sit in a chair by yourself in a quiet room, because we need to find your base, right? What is the base? What is the lowest energy state, if you will? Well, it's you alone. In the death state and in the extinction state, there won't be any of this. There won't be thoughts. There won't be sensations. So how can you be at peace and not in a state of complete anxiety and despair and angst, existential angst, when there's nothing, when there's only you? How can you expect to be at peace, rest in peace, right? They don't really mean that when they say rest in peace. If you can't even do that sitting in a chair by yourself without thinking or without doing anything, if you're not at peace and just happy, like let's say it's Christmas morning and you're watching your kids open their presents, right? Well, there's a manufactured happiness because everyone has what they want, right? Everyone gets what they want, so therefore it's manufactured happiness. But do you ever experience that in your life? Do you ever just sit and be happy in and of your own existence? No, we mistake happiness. We've forgotten what happiness really is, and we've mistaken it for interest. or mildly interested in something, or I'm happy doing mathematics, or I'm happy reading a book, or I'm happy when I'm eating, or I'm happy when I'm having sex, right? No. Absolute happiness, which is Satchitananda, which is your natural state, is absolute. It is not dependent upon any circumstances at all. It's only dependent upon your being. So that's it. That's the big fucking secret, is that you need to shut up the voice in your head. That's it. And I don't give a fuck if who doesn't believe this and who's going to say that it's nonsense, or if you believe it or not, because it's completely obvious. And what is it that's telling you that it's nonsense? Is it the voice in your head?